Andrei Buzarov is a political analyst and an expert on international relations. He joins us now from Kiev, Ukraine. Hello, Mr. Buzarov. Thanks for taking the time to speak with us.
Thank you for the invitation. My Israeli colleagues, I'm always ready to communicate and to explain what is going on. Thank you.
First of all, what is the current situation in the Ukraine? I know your family is staying in the east, in Donetsk. What can you tell us about the situation there from what you hear from your relatives?
Actually, this is the biggest, the most complicated problem that a lot of families after the beginning of the conflict in the east of Ukraine in 2014, they actually separated. And my mother, my relatives, they still live in occupied region, and I live in Kiev. I have been living in Kiev for 8 years. However, the recent tension changed the situation a lot, because on the one hand, we see the very serious and significant tensions near the border of Ukraine. I mean, the soldiers, the Russian soldiers, the tanks, the infrastructure. On the other hand, here in Kiev, we don't see any kind of panic, and we don't see any kind of chaos. We don't see any kind of instability. That's why the people who live in the occupied territory and near the occupied territory in the east of Ukraine, actually they have the immunity towards what is happening. And despite the real threat from the Russian border, there isn't any kind of chaos, nor in Kiev, nor in the front line.
Now, while the U.S. is claiming a Russian invasion is only a matter of days of time, the Ukrainian government says there is no reason to panic, and there is no such a scenario for an imminent war right now. What is the explanation for these differences between the Ukraine and the Western intelligence community?
Thank you for your question. This is actually the most difficult and the most complicated question. I think, my personal opinion, I can express you as a person who analyzed the conflict situation during the last 8 years in Ukraine. I think that when we still have the negotiation with Russia, and we have negotiation, so-called Normandy format, which was 2 rounds of negotiation last week and this week, actually, in Paris and Berlin. I think it's impossible to imagine that there will be some kind of military operations near the border during these negotiations. I think a lot of depends on the result of on this negotiation. However, despite the ending of negotiations, there is a very serious information war and information propaganda. So it's very difficult even here in Kiev understand what is happening.
But in the overall picture, in the end of the day, Putin doesn't want NATO on the soil of Ukraine, and the Western countries are not willing to give Putin such a commitment. So sooner or later, what do you think Putin will initiate or will be up to in order to achieve his goal, which is apparently to keep Ukraine under the Russian umbrella of influence?
I'm absolutely convinced that Russia and personally Putin will keep on using political, economical pressure on Ukraine. Actually, they did it with the help of energy pressure, with the help of political pressure, and also with the help of military tension, but not attack. And this tension, which used, actually, we call it hybrid war, hybrid pressure, which used by Russians, it can cause a very serious political crisis inside Ukraine. Because inside Ukraine, inside our society, we have a split opinion about what to do. So one politicians and one expert say that we have to be ready for the attack, and we should involve our allies from United States, from Britain, from Canada to fight with us against possible threat. On the other hand, there are a lot of politicians, experts who are ready to make some kind of concessions, political concessions, and to make some kind of a new agreement about the future relations between Ukraine and Russia. Actually, as you said, and you're absolutely right, that Ukraine is not the key goal of Putin. The key goal and the main ultimate goal of Putin is the changing of the European system of security. That's why I think that we just at the beginning of the crisis, and Putin has not yet used all political methods and diplomatic, certainly, methods to persuade, to pressure the European Union and Ukraine to achieve some kind of compromise concerning the future relations between two systems. That's why I think we just witnessed the beginning of the crisis, not the end of the crisis. This is the most problematic and complicated thing for us.
Mr. Andrei Buzarov, political analyst and an expert for international relations, thank you so much for this conversation from Kiev.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.